time for fantasy football harsh reality. This is my podcast, my live YouTube show, where I dole out what I think is, well, let's be honest, it's not expert advice. I'm a fantasy football enthusiast. I'm an expert at stand-up. I teach stand-up. I have a book out. If you're interested in learning the craft of stand-up, it's called The Complete Guide to Stand-Up. It's available on Amazon. But I am Greg Romero Wilson. I am your host, your fantasy football semi-guru enthusiast. Last year I won one league, and I usually do 2 leagues, but I'm doing 3 leagues this year. Last year I won one, and I came in second in the other. The guy that I lost to, though, he'd been dominating all year, so it wasn't that big of a surprise. But I came close. There was a line of opportunity, but I didn't get it. But let's get into it. Let's look at week 2. There's a lot of big storylines to be had. There's a lot of stuff going on. So let's just get into it. And then I'm going to go through my players that I think are going to explode, players that I like, players that I don't like, players I wouldn't touch, and players I think we need to wait and see. Wait and see what's going on with those guys. So let's see what's up. Let's go through this. Let's have a good time. All right. First of all, let's talk about what happened on Thursday night between the Houston Texans and the Cincinnati Bengals. I think what we're seeing is the end of the Marvin Lewis era in Cincinnati. These guys stink like shit on hot ice. Are you fucking kidding me? How bad can you be? Although I think the Texans finally got themselves together. And again, I said this last week, and I said the big difference, of course, is Deshaun Watson. These Houston Texan players, they played with Savage. They played for Watson. You can see it. They're like, finally, we've got a champ, we got a winner, so let's get out there and let's actually play for this guy. And so you saw it on the defensive side of the ball. And I feel sorry for you if you dropped Houston after 1 week thinking the defense was going to be terrible. I don't think that's the case. I think this is a team that still has yet to gel, but I think in the next couple of weeks, I think they will gel. And when they do, this is going to be a team you're really going to have that you're going to have to reckon with. But if you drafted Joe Mixon, see that, it's so funny. The running backs, the rookie running backs are doing so great as a class with the exception of Joe Mixon. And this is a guy with so much hype coming into this season that everyone is, oh, he can do it all. We can't wait to get him involved. Oh, Joe Mixon, he's going to really take on, and he can't do shit. And I don't know how much of it is his fault and how much of it is how bad that Cincinnati offensive line is, because it must be so bad. I mean, Andy Dalton's beginning to look like Andy Dalton. Which, by the way, if you have Andy Dalton, I think you can let him go. And go pick up Deshaun Watson. Which, by the way, you do want to try and get Deshaun Watson this week, because this is a guy, by the end of the season, he's going to, he's going to be putting up numbers. He's going to be looking great. Like he's this year's Dak Prescott. Deshaun Watson, pick him up. Now, so anyways, but Dalton, he looks, oh God, the whole thing. I think Marvin Lewis is going to be canned. If they don't turn this around, start winning, so they haven't even scored a touchdown. Not one fucking touchdown in 2 games, in 8 quarters of football. Marvin Lewis, I think, is going to be fired before the end of the season. That's my prediction. You heard it here first. Although I doubt I'm actually the first person to say it. I'm sure everybody in Cincinnati is saying it right now. Okay. But I do think in 2 or 3 weeks, this team's starting to gel. DeAndre Hopkins, he's getting volume right now. I picked him up hoping that Deshaun Watson would become the quarterback, and now it's happening. It happened sooner than expected, so that's very exciting. So I think in 2 to 3 weeks, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be back to being an elite wide receiver, because him and Deshaun Watson are going to get better every single week. They're still gelling, and I think 2 to 3 weeks, by midseason, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a absolute powerhouse in fantasy football. But that's a little ways down the road. Now, did you notice, however, D'Onta Foreman is starting to get involved? Like a lot. I've never been a Lamar Miller fan. I know a lot of people drop because he's like, oh, he's going to get a lot of usage. He's going to get those, PPR league, bro. I've never been a Lamar Miller fan. He disappointed a lot of people last season, and I think he's doing, and now D'Onta Foreman is clearly starting to, start taking a little away from him every single week. And if you've got D'Onta Foreman, if not, try to get him this week, but I'm sure he's taken him most leagues. But if he's not, you want to go ahead and grab him. Which leads me to Samaj Perine. And listen, it's Saturday. If he's still available on your wire and you could drop, there's somebody you could just let go of for now, I would pick up Samaj Perine because I think what's happening in Houston is about to happen. And the same thing that's happening, in Chicago, I think it's about to happen in Washington because we saw last week Rob Kelly look terrible. Chris Thompson, he's okay, but he's Chris Thompson. And I think what they're doing right now is he's punishing Perine for that fumble. He's specifically referenced it in the media. Jay Gruden was like, we don't remember fumbles. Now, that being said, we got to get him involved. So I think this week is the week now. He's not going to get a lot of touches this week, but I think this is the week they begin to test the waters and see if Samaj Perine can come in there and help this offense because Rob Kelly looks so fucking bad and Chris Thompson is just okay. So, being Saturday, if you watch this today, if you hear this today, if you have room, go get some Samaj Perine now because everybody's going to want to get him come Monday. Okay. Now, let's talk about some things just going into this week, some storylines, some things that I'm looking at that I think you might be looking at as well to try and see what is actually happening with this particular week. And number one, will we see Angry Brady? I know I'm hoping we do because I fucking picked him up in 2 leagues. One of them I definitely reached for. The other one I got him in the 3rd round, so it didn't really feel like it was a reach. But this one I absolutely... felt like my league of record, I definitely reached for him in the 2nd round. I couldn't help it. He's the best there is, so I wanted him on my team. And I knew in drafting in the 9th position, there was no way he was making it back around to me in the 3rd. It never happened in any of the mocks that I did. And so I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm pulling the trigger. So I need Angry Brady. And that's the thing is that's what we're going to learn this week. Was that a weird week 1 thing and they could correct it and now we get Angry Brady and we have to fucking see what this team is? Or are they just too injured? Amendola, God, ambulance Amendola. Dude, fucking retire or something. The guy cannot stay on the field. Great week for Chris Hogan, I think, but do they have the weapons? Are there enough weapons? Now, they played Kansas City last week. Kansas City shut Gronk down. They shut Cooks down. But I don't think that happens against New Orleans. And so I think maybe we see a huge bounce-back game for both those guys. Because, again, hopefully we see Angry Brady. But if not, then what we might see is that this is a team that is going to struggle because there's so many injured pieces. And the more that people that get injured, again, I said this earlier this week, I think Gronk is more injured than he lets on. So, what are you going to do? But hopefully we see Angry Brady. But will we see that? I don't know. Is Tarik Cohen going to continue to take a little bit more from Jordan Howard? I'm a guy that held on to Jordan Howard, did not hold on to Tarik Cohen. I managed to pick him back up in 1 league, but not in the league where I actually have Jordan Howard and could have used the handcuff. Or is Jordan Howard going to get, Michael Fabiano made a very good point on the NFL Fantasy Live show, which was, they had no way to game plan for him before. They didn't know how much he was going to play. They didn't have any tape on him. They didn't know how he was going to be used. Now they do. So does a defense that come out and play him in a way that did not happen last week? And again, they're playing the Patriots, a much better defense. So not the Patriots. They're playing the Buccaneers. Buccaneers, much better defense. Although, they were playing actually Atlanta, a defense I fucking love. So, but again, they didn't game plan for it. Buccaneers got to sit there, watch it, know exactly what they're heading into. So what happens there will be very, very interesting with Tarik Cohen. Because I feel like if the Buccaneers game plan for Tarik Cohen, they're going to have to go back to Jordan Howard because Jordan Howard's the kind of runner that you can game plan for him and he's still going to get some yards. So we'll see. I think Tarik Cohen floats back down to earth. That's what I think. Will Adrian Peterson take the field in the Saints-Patriots games, which is probably going to be one of the best games of the week in terms of fantasy football points. It's on at 10 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. It's an early game, which is shocking to me. But will Adrian Peterson even see the field? As I said earlier this week, I don't think we saw that he just isn't the right fit for this offense. I think they decide not to use him that much, settle back down into who they actually are, and get back to slinging the ball all over the field and occasionally throwing it out wide to the running backs, Mark Ingram, and for some reason Kamara getting even more usage than fucking Ingram. Very strange business what's going on there. I wouldn't touch any of those running backs. I don't know. I do like Mark Ingram, but obviously they have no fear in using Kamara. Can Kareem Hunt do it again? I say no, but I said the exact same thing about Ajayi after his 200-yard game last year. I was like, can Ajayi run for 200 yards in a game again? No. And because he did, I drafted him in 2 leagues. So I'm waiting. This is my big week, and this is the week I find out what kind of teams I really have, because I didn't have Ajayi as someone who I think is going to be the megastar of this season. And so we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I put a lot of chips on him in two different leagues. So we'll see if we finally get this Ferrari out of the garage and see if it can fucking drive. But it brings up an interesting question: how has the hurricane affected Miami and Tampa Bay? Because here's the thing. With what happened in Houston, I think we were all like, oh my God, it's going to be such a motivator. Houston's going to be so ready. They're going to come out just ready to destroy for their team, for their city. But I think what we saw was, in fact, the hurricane, while certainly a motivator, was also a giant fucking distraction. It disrupted their entire workflow, their entire workout schedule and practice. Everything got thrown off. And it's not like they got extra time to sit home and rest. They were worried. They were concerned. They were helping people. They were helping their families. They were reaching out to others. Like, I just think the emotional distress was a massive distraction and exhaustion ultimately for this team. And I think we saw that. And then when they had a chance to get over that and get back to being themselves, I think we saw the better real them in week 2. Now, what does that mean for Miami and Tampa Bay? Are they going to be those guys that they had the week's rest and they're chomping at the bit, watching everybody else in the NFL play, while they've got to sit there in a hotel room and just let everybody else just like, I want to play. And I think that is what's going to happen. I think they are going to come out and just be raring to go. I think Ajayi runs with fury. I think Mike Evans and Winston just go off. I think they have a great day. And I think even Cutler with here he is. He's like a second lease on life in the NFL, and it gets held back a week, which probably was great for him. Gave him an extra week to work on the playbook and to get to know the guys that are practicing with him. I think it was nothing but beneficial for Miami. So I think it could be great for Devontae Parker and Jarvis Landry. That's another storyline. Like, which one of these is really going to emerge? Because we all know that when fucking Cutler falls in love with one receiver, it doesn't matter how covered he is. It doesn't matter. He is going to force feed him that ball because that's who Cutler is. He's such a jerk off. Okay. Let's just do it like that. All right. Now, who else? Other things that we're going to be looking out for this week. Can Jacoby Brissett actually help the Colts so that they're not a complete fucking just rollover? They're so bad. Tolzien was such a mistake. I don't know how you even start the season thinking that he's going to be able to be the man for you. He absolutely could not do the job. But can Jacoby Brissett? I mean, he comes from the Patriots, well-trained guy, very disciplined, won one game, lost one game. I mean, he's definitely an upgrade from Tolzien. Poor Tolzien. Fucking poor Tolzien. Just raked through the mud. Everyone's like, fuck Tolzien. The poor guy just like, give him the cane. You're out. All right. Another big, what else we got to watch for? Who is going to run the rock in Arizona? Right? Who's going to run the rock in Arizona? I don't know. I mean, because this is the way it goes in Arizona. This is how they changed the running back guard in Arizona. If you remember correctly, it was Andre Ellington, and Andre Ellington got hurt, which that opened the door for Chris Johnson. And then Chris Johnson went wild, and then he got hurt. And then that opened the door for David Johnson. And remember, David Johnson just went wild like the last 2 games of the season, and then they let him keep over Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson got healthy again. They stuck with David Johnson. It was his turn. Now, whose turns it next? Is it Kerwin Williams? I don't believe it's going to be Andre Ellington. I think he'll always be a third down, change of pace, pass catching back, which is fine. But, and I was all excited, like, I got to get Kerwin Williams because they do like to be a featured back team. However, they also brought back Chris Johnson. I actually picked up both Kerwin Williams and Chris Johnson because it's going to be one of those two guys, I think, and I wouldn't be surprised if it wound up being Chris Johnson. I mean, they cut Chris Johnson for Kerwin Williams, and then they bring him back. How much would Chris Johnson love to get on that field and make it so Kerwin Williams disappears? So this is a very murky situation, in my opinion. It should be Kerwin Williams, but we'll see. We don't know. We'll see. Are the Rams for real? Are the Rams for real? I mean, the Colts obviously stunk, so we got to see what kind of team they are this week. Now, they have a very interesting matchup because they're going up against Washington, which is where Sean McVay, the new head coach for the Rams, came from. And, Kirk Cousins looked pretty bad last week. He was Kirk Cousins' quarterback coach in Washington. And look now, all of a sudden, Jared Goff looks like a real fucking NFL quarterback. Obviously, this guy is some kind of quarterback whisperer. But has he built? I mean, the defense is playing great again because it's what's his name, Wade Phillips. He's cut him loose. You really should just draft whatever defense Wade Phillips is in charge of. So are the Rams for real? I mean, this is a tougher test. This is a real team in Washington. So now they're not the greatest team. The offense was struggling last week and against the Eagles, and the Eagles went fucking balls out on Kirk Cousins. But Washington's going to be looking to straighten up, to get strong. And so we'll see if this Rams team is for real. And I got to tell you, I do still like Cooper Kupp in this one. Let's see what else. What other big story? Like Bradford. Oh my God. So it was someone hit me up on Twitter and was like, hey, should I drop Andrew Luck for Sam Bradford on my bench? And I'm like, I'd wait a week. And I'd wait a week because Sam Bradford loves to get hurt. Okay, and then lo and behold, at the end of this, around Wednesday, they were like, oh, guess what? Bradford had to have an MRI on his knee because there was, huge swelling and it was all sore. Dude, don't touch Bradford with a 10-foot fucking pole. I know he looked good, but he will not finish the season. He just can't. He just isn't physically capable. And he's going up against a better team this week. He's going up against, who's Bradford? Up against this week. Oh, the Steelers. Oh, the Steelers, a defense that looked very good last week. If they get to Bradford may not even finish this fucking game. And that's just the truth. But, so that's the other thing. Oh, will Le'Veon Bell continue to struggle? Le'Veon Bell, remember what I said? I don't like it when running backs stay out the whole preseason because they missed the practices, the building the chemistry, learning the plays. He was completely out of sync. Will he get back on track this week? Will he have the big bounce back game? No, because Minnesota's a phenomenal fucking defense, and he is not in game shape yet. I think we have this week, and I think maybe next week, week 3, I think Le'Veon Bell begins to put on a show, but I think this week he is going to continue to struggle. Gillislee. Do you play Gillislee? Man got 3 touchdowns last week. Not a lot of yards, but 3 fucking touchdowns. That's not too shabby. So, do you play Gillislee? The answer is no. Because if it's one thing we've learned about Bill Belichick is with these running backs, there's no allegiance, he's doing great, let's stick with it. No. In fact, I'm going to tell you, this is the week you play James White or Rex Burkhead. It's going to be a James White, Rex Burkhead game. And I got to tell you which one. I think James White. I got a strong James White vibe for this week because it was so much Gillislee last week, and so they know they're going to prepare for Gillislee, so they're going to use, he may vulture 1 touchdown. He's probably going to wind up in the 8 to 9 point range, like a touchdown and 20 some odd yards. But I think James White is probably going to see some action this week, especially since they're so short of receivers. And you know what? If this isn't the game we see some Burkhead's irrelevant for the entire season, or at least so intermittently you can't trust nothing. Although I loved Burkhead in the preseason. I think Burkhead, but again, James White, he catches the ball a lot too, and those are the guys that are going to see a lot of green this particular Sunday afternoon. Actually, it'll be Sunday morning. Patriots are playing in the morning. It's so strange. Cowboys playing in the afternoon. They're not even, that's strange too. We'll see. Let's see what goes on with Atlanta. Atlanta's got a pretty tough matchup, but they're up against the Green Bay Packers, and so it'll be Packers. Hey, they did it. They managed to get it done. They've got a very good defense, and they have a new offensive coordinator in Atlanta. And I got to be honest, I don't like that. I don't like that. This Sarkisian guy, I don't think they've really, I don't think they're in sync yet. And so I'm not that excited about the Falcons just yet. Now, can they get in sync? Absolutely. Is it going to come together? Maybe. But they messed with a winning formula in replacing that OC. And I don't, even though I know he just moved on to head coach the San Francisco 49ers, but I don't know. I'm a little worried about him. I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about the Sarkisian era in Atlanta. I think that's who it is. I don't know. I don't double check everything. I don't have a lot of time, guys. I do this for fun. All right, so now let's just go through players I think are going to explode, players I like, players I don't like, players I think you should absolutely not touch, and some guys that I think we need to wait and see. I wouldn't play them, but I wouldn't drop them either. This week, oh my God, number one with a bullet, the player that I think is going to absolutely go off this Sunday is the Seattle fucking defense. First of all, Jeremy Lane, I don't think will get thrown out on the second play of the game. And they're playing San Francisco, a team that just isn't ready for this kind of pass rush. I think it's going to be a very long day for Brian Hoyer, and I think Seattle's going to just, I see them getting upper 20s at minimum. 28 points, something around there. And if they really go off in the 30s, but it's going to be a big day for the Seattle defense, I think, down there in San Francisco. Okay, I think Brady is going to explode. I think angry Brady comes out and I think does what we believe he's going to do because he's Tom fucking Brady. But he's still just a man. He's lost Super Bowls to the Giants twice. So... And I remember the second Super Bowl, I was telling everybody, I'm like, oh, you're going to see Brady. You're going to see one of the masterful performances in Super Bowl history. I really did. I was telling anyone that would listen that he was going to get revenge for the first loss to the Giants. I was like, this guy, they're going to pay for the last one. And then they beat him again. I couldn't fucking believe it. Which is what makes this so much fun. No matter how much, so how obvious certain things look, no matter how much something is a lock, that's why they play the fucking game. Because you just don't know. Kansas City was not supposed to win like that last Thursday, yet they did. I'm drinking water that I'm not sure is mine, to be perfectly honest. Pretty sure it's not mine. All right, let's keep going. Let's see what. Oh, so I love Brady. I think he's going to explode. I definitely think Breeze is going to explode. I think Breeze. I think they stopped trying to fool around so much with the running backs like they tried last week. I think they run Adrian Peterson 2-3 times to the goal line, if that, and they go back to just being who they are. And so that being the case. I think Breeze they'll go back to passing the ball crazy. A lot of little swing out passes to Ingram and to Kamara, and so I think Breeze has a great day. I think it'll be a total track meet down there, 38-35 or something. Oh, who I really think is going to explode is that San Diego, or I guess not San Diego, the LA Chargers versus Miami Dolphins. I think Ajayi versus Melvin Gordon. I think they'll be, trying to outdo each other all afternoon. I think Ajayi is going to come out running with like a beast. And hopefully it isn't so much like a beast that he fucking knocks himself unconscious again like he did in the preseason. Like just be a beast, but don't use your head as a ram. So, but I think what's going to happen is, Ajayi's going to do something wild, then Gordon's going to do something amazing, and then Gordon's going to do something amazing, then Ajayi's going to go wild. I think I'd look for both of those guys to fucking explode, baby. Tampa Bay, I expect Winston and Mike Evans to have a hell of a day. I think they're going to really go off. I think they're just going to fucking explode. Travis Kelce and Gronk, I expect to have massive bounce-back games. I think those two are going to absolutely come back and destroy. Julio Jones, I think is going to have an amazing day. And I think the Ravens defense versus the Redskins. I think if you're streaming defenses, you pick up Baltimore. And even if you're not, hold on. I said at the beginning Baltimore is a value defense. People always kind of underestimate them, but they look fantastic last week. I expect them to have another big day this week against the Redskins. Now, guys I like. I don't know if they're going to explode, but I do expect them to have a pretty good game. Brandon Cooks. I expect Brandon Cooks has to get on the same page as Tom Brady, and this is the week that it has to happen. If he doesn't have a good game, it all bodes, then Brady didn't have a good day, and it's all bodes very bad for the Patriots in this season. I like Miami receivers. I like Miami receivers because Cutler's had a little bit more time with the playbook. I think Ajayi is going to be running wild. I think it's going to open up the pass game. I like the Miami receivers, both Jarvis and Devontae Parker. I like Jacquizz Rodgers. And I'll tell you why I like Jacquizz Rodgers. Because Jacquizz Rodgers always has an amazing first game. And then he fades. But that first game, he's always fantastic. So look for Jacquizz Rodgers. If you need to plug and play somebody, I would go with Jacquizz. Like if you lost David Johnson, you're not confident with who you replaced him, go with Jacquizz Rodgers. Kelvin Benjamin, I expect to have a big bounce back game. I don't know what was going on last week with that offense, but I think this is the week that Kelvin Benjamin begins to really get involved with this offense. Antonio Brown, I know he was amazing last week. And that's the thing. I don't think he's going to explode. I do like him, though. I think he is going to be the most productive. He'll still get 8 to 10 receptions, but will it be the production that he quite got last week? I don't know, because up against Minnesota, Xavier Rhodes is a much tougher week for Antonio Brown. I like James White, as I said, but again, to what extent is he's not going to be the only running back. I think it'll be him and Burkhead. I like Dak and Dez. I really do. I think that obviously they've got a tough matchup against the Broncos defense. But I think that defense is going to be really focused on Elliott. So Elliott, for me, is a wait and see. I mean, you got to play him. But I will see with Elliott. But I do like Dak and Dez, even though I know the pass rush is going to be hot, which may really open things up in the swing pass game to Elliott. But I like Dak and Dez to have a good game against this against this Denver defense. Again, I don't think they're going to explode, but I like them. Cowboys. Cooper Kupp. I like Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to continue to see a lot of solid volume, some red zone action. I like Cooper Kupp. I like Phillip Rivers. I think Phillip Rivers has a good matchup against Miami. We don't know much about their defense right now, and so I expect Phillip Rivers to have to sling the ball. I like Travis Benjamin. I'd like Travis Benjamin to be the guy getting the deep balls. I like him a lot. I like Ted Ginn Jr., and I like him because, again, I think they stopped getting cute with their run game this week. They go back to being who they are, and with Willie Snead still not back for another game, I think this is a good week to play Ted Ginn Jr. Guys I don't like Jordan Howard, and I'm playing him. I got him. I own him. Got to play him. I got to play, but I like him because Tariq Cohen is vulturing a lot of his downs, his plays. So I don't know. I don't like Jordan Howard. I don't like Le'Veon Bell. I already told you about that. I don't like Gillislee. I don't like Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, a lot of potential, but he's the kind of guy I don't know. I don't trust him. I don't like Odell Beckham Jr. because I think he's going to play, and I think he's going to get hurt, and I think he's going to leave the game. I don't like Mariota. Mariota's got a tough matchup against the Jaguars defense. Jaguars spent a fortune on their defense, and that defense looks pretty fucking great. And Mariota didn't look so great last week. So against a Raiders defense that isn't that touted as being that great. So I'm not sold on Mariota. Everyone's like, breakout year for Mariota, and I said, nah, hold the phone. I don't think it's a breakout year for Mariota. I think it's going to be a big year for Dak. Stafford. I don't like Stafford. Monday night game. The Giants, what they have is a very good defense. And I think they're going to get to him a lot more, and I think they're going to disrupt him a lot more, and I think they're going to have to try to rely on their run game, which again brings up Theo Riddick, Amir, bullshit. So I don't like Stafford, and I don't like Cousins. Cousins against this LA Rams defense. I mean, so far, I don't know. They didn't look good last week. This week we need to see, but I don't like Cousins. Here's some guys I wouldn't touch. Hyde and Garcon. Anybody on San Francisco. Because I think, again, Seattle is set to explode. I hate Adrian Peterson. I love you, Adrian. I'm keeping you on my bench. I hope they trade you to a team that needs a star running back. And Isaiah Crowell. I'm not touching Isaiah Crowell with a 10-foot pole. They're going up against the Ravens, and the Ravens are going to stop that team. They're going to stop that run game. They're going to force them to throw the ball with Deshaun Kaiser. They're going to get a lot of interceptions off the young man. Some guys that I have a wait-and-see approach. Yes, you're going to play Leonard Fournette, okay? You have to play Leonard Fournette. But I want to do a wait and see thing because the Jaguars are up against the Titans, and the Titans is a very good defense. So we'll see if Fournette is able to crank out another 100 yards. Again, I think they were playing a very exhausted, distracted Houston team last week. And I think this week they have a much bigger challenge against team who lost at home against the Raiders and are looking to get back on track. And even though I don't think it's going to be a very big game for Mariota, maybe, because the Jaguars defense is that good. By the same token, the Titans defense is very good. And so I think Fournette, maybe he's going to play. And, again, I worry about him and injuries. But you can play him while you can. Play him while you can because he will definitely be out a few games this year. Wait and see on Brandon Marshall. Again, they gave him a phenomenal projection of 11 points, 12 points, something like that. It's like, I ain't putting him in the lineup. I got to see that chemistry happen before I start playing. Now, I think by the end of, in the next couple of weeks, by week 6, I think he will be absolutely playable. But right now, I don't see it. I ain't seeing it, and I ain't buying it. I ain't seeing it, ain't buying it. All right, so that is who I like. That is what I think is happening. Good luck to everybody. You guys, you have yourselves an incredible day. Enjoy that fantasy football.